A very good morning to you, and thank you so much for joining us this day right here on Kirk Mid Morning. It is the 9th of February 2023. My name is Faith Kaulu. Do interact with us on our social media pages, that is Kirk TV Kenya on Facebook and YouTube. We have a very wholesome program lined up for you. Of course, we'll start by looking at what has been trending on the web. Then I'll introduce my guest of today. We'll be talking about the art of spoken word, a conversation I'd like you to be part of. So do keep it right here. But right about now, let's have a look at what has been trending on the web since the last time we met on air. Now, let me begin by doing this. Okay, I'm trying my best, guys. But there's one lady who's caught the masses on social media pages. Now, on this week's sensational trending on the web, we begin with one Priscilla Imani. What began as just a single whistle blowing has now turned as the biggest thing on the internet. In viral clips, especially on TikTok, Priscilla Imani has been entertaining Kenyans with her ability to make the shepherd whistles, commonly referred to as mbinja locally. Seems that caught Kenyans unaware, and everyone is now whistling. Anyway, out of that viral sensational video, Priscilla Imani landed some publicity endorsements by Bonfire Tours and Travel Company as well as other small companies. Here's a snippet of Priscilla Imani's drama.
Priscilla Imani ndani ya soko. Priscilla Imani niko Nairobi. Sakaja! Sakaja! Priscilla Imani ndani ya supermarket. Priscilla Imani ndani ya petrol station.
It's the heavy voice for me, Priscilla Imani, you know, and Kenyans are being entertained by that. And on one of her videos, she calls out to Governor Sakaja, who I believe yesterday responded to her as well by showing his whistling prowess. Guys, whatever puts food on your table, as long as it's legal, do it. Now, the conversation on next week's Valentine's Day has continued to be the talk on the internet. Perhaps the expectations on what the day will look like for many Kenyans. Now, imagine this. You buy some flowers and want to surprise someone special. It then turns out this way. This is a video that Kenyans have been sharing widely that features popular TikToker Mami Francis. Have a look. Now, that video might have been stage managed, you know, for social media views, but what are your thoughts on this? Because most likely those will be scenes that we'll be having on the 14th of February, men who have worked hard to buy flowers and women who unashamedly reject them publicly. Guys, what are your thoughts on this? Do let us know on Kirk TV Kenya, that is on Facebook and YouTube. Should you publicly profess your love to someone, or do it nyuma mlango, so that even if they reject, you are at least safe and not embarrassed? Anyway, that aside, now hear this. Kenyan popular YouTuber Ian Mara has left Kenyans amazed after building his needy neighbors a 3-bedroom house in a span of 1 week. Well, the story started when a girl identified as Anne wrote Mara a letter requesting to help him to buy some items needed for school and 1,000 Kenya shillings for remedial classes. The girl expressed that her late sister used to help her, but she now needed help since her parents were not in a position to afford that. Now, that is when YouTuber Ian shared the story with his followers on social media. They were really touched and felt the need to help Anne and her family. The people contributed 20,000 Kenya shillings when Mara took the money to her. The followers saw the poor state of the home and decided to give the family a better life and a facelift. With Mara's coordination, fans on social media contributed and the construction of the new house began immediately. Now, the new house has a bedroom for the parents, for the girls, a bedroom for the boys as well, an indoor toilet, an indoor kitchen. Just a definition of life has its own fate.
We are getting them from that home. Imagine, these are our neighbors. That's my home on this other side. I don't know if you can see it right there. We are transforming this home to this through a letter. If you follow me on YouTube, you must have seen the story. So now we are conflicted. Which color should we paint this house? This is just an undercoat. Even this place looks, we should paint something. Should we put white, black? We decided on this part here, we put black. But here we think of white. We still want to maintain this color. What should we paint right here? Guys, please let me know. Kindly let me know what you guys think. Which color should we paint this house, okay? Kindly.
Something so admirable right there and very selfless. Now, so a few days ago, I believe you came across this video right here. And if not, then you'll be seeing it here for the first time. This is a video of Jubilee Secretary General Jeremiah Keoni leading protesters in heating sufuria and plates to protest the high cost of living. This video was and has been a talk among Kenyans questioning the efficiency in the protest. Many Kenyans were left wondering and questioning if a member of parliament is going through that or going that low, then what of the normal Kenyan? The pro-government politicians and Kenyans trashed the video, terming it as petty, and this is what the member of parliament had to say.
Umeona wamebabana na masufuria na vikombe na masahani, na ni kusema kwamba iko jaa, na sio jaa ya tumbo peke yake, ni jaa aina yote. Lakini hata tumbo chakula ya kukula, naweza kuambia kwamba hata hapa Nyandarua kuna hiyo jaa, na sio hapa, ni Kenya mzima. Kwa sababu serikali kama haiko imana, na tunasema hatuna serikali kwa sababu ile iko ni watu walipitia mlango ya dirisha.
Your social media has been going well from that video. A meme that of course has me laughing till now is a photo of them hitting their plates and someone saying in high school when the bell has rung and the teacher is still teaching. So you're like, Mwalimu, this has a lunch, please. But anyway, what Jeremiah Keoni is saying, very true. Cost of living is so high. We believe the Kenya Kwanza government will have a look at that. Now, there's this man who uploaded a clip online talking about how you should treat your woman and test whether she's a wife material or not. And what elicited reactions from Kenyans is when he mentioned about men giving the women a 1 month salary to test her expenditure capability. Here's the video. Let's have a look.
Stop using poverty to test whether she can make a good wife. Gone are the days when the value of a woman depended on how far she can withhold suffering. Why don't you test her with money this time around? Test if she can make a good manager. In fact, why don't you give her your 1 month salary? Let's see if she will develop ulcers. Let's see if you will die because she never cooked. We have to change the narrative now.
Stingy men can't relate to that video, I tell you, because how? How are you going to give a woman your 1 month salary and then remain with what exactly? Of course, that is something very questionable. And how many women are you going to give your salary before you find the right one or the wife material as it should be? A debate that is ongoing on social media. Definitely let us know your thoughts on that on our social media pages. That is Kirk TV Kenya on Facebook and YouTube. Are you willing to give a woman your 1 month salary just to test whether she's a wife material or not, or that's just a high risk you can't take? Of course, stingy men, we already know where you stand, so that is a point that is already communicated. We end it right there for training on the web, but do stay right here with us at Kirk Mid-Morning. We're taking a very short break. When we come back, I'll be joined by Doffinage, a poet and spoken word artist, even as we talk about the art of spoken word. So keep it right here. Kirk Mid-Morning continues after this short break.
Love. This I jot down from my lone chambers, in the very faithful company of my friend Sorrow. Every night, I go to sleep just like everybody else. Not sure of a wake up, but still hoping to see you from makeup tomorrow. I know this border somewhere between an obsession and exaggerated emotions, but what does one do with sneaky memories? Small, stubborn, stingy particulars that defy the format command without smart shredding softwares. Tiny trivial details that however tight I lock them out, they have an uncanny funny way of breaching the cranial walls into my head. When sleep gets me close to death, but in slumberland is where I come out more alive. When I count years of your absence in my pupils, yet your presence in my dreams is futuristic. When my fondness for you refuses extinction and stays real and alive like dinosaurs in Jurassic. In my dreams, you are my partner in the honeymoon tour. In my dreams, you mother mine and I father yours. In my dreams, you hold my hand as fall takes a toll on my body, shedding off my youthful features. In my dreams, we share one bed till our hair turns all gray. But there's no business dyeing it black. It's all accounted for. I am using these words to paint the future here, my dear. Do you get the picture?
We used to be strong.
Raia ikikampaign na champagne, kubobot wakichapa tot. Mimi niko totally drunk, substantial on a totally different substance. Ka hip hop na poetry ni drugs, your horn I'm guilty kuruka. Nishakubali nimelewa under this circumstance. Circumventing my way kwa hii steeple chase kuruka zile views nimewekewa. After nijue life ni marathon, wapimia kindereba utadhani tukolewa. Naenda pole nisijikwai wanadhani nimelemewa. Hizo ndo baadhi ya vitu zilipita kijana juu ya mti, lakini mhenga kwa kiti alielewa. Ndiye akakwambia mpanda ngazi anatafuta, eventually ata end up chini ya mnazi akishuka. Ukiniona Kimathi street ama tomboy nikitembea, either ni inspiration ama ni kazi natafuta. Sijawahi kuwa mzembe hata kama bado sijafika, so usi expect nijigambe, bado nasaka sembe. Nipende usinipende siwezi kupaka mafuta na mgongo wa chupa. Walikuja na caterpillars na bulldozer, wakabomoa viosk na vibanda. Sasa kwa hii stage no mimi naleta duka. Walinifuta juu wakaneta chini ya page kama futa. Sadofa na become of age akawageuza book lovers. Ni sura yangu wanatamani kuona kwa cover wakinunua vitabu kwa duka. Ni wakati wa sleeping giants kuamka na wajinga kuzinduka, hao werevu watajuta. Nasema ni wakati wa sleeping giants kuamka na wajinga kuzinduka, hao werevu watajuta. Hao werevu watajuta. Muda unayoyoma mimi nahesabu madakika. Alafu nageuza hii stage na ifanya OB na hii statement naandika. Na attitude niko nayo tena nyingine hardcore kuruka. Ile kisa inapika keki na moyo tatu, hao watu wakichoma mahindi na gastuka. Hapo hivi.
We put so much work into perfection, it's nonsense. The noise, the pain, the grind, it makes no sense. It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's just my heart screaming out. It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's just my soul crushing down.
I want to die. Yeah, you heard me. I want to die. Picture me stop a bullet with my head. Watch my body get drained of blood in the battlefront, with soldiers running past, stomping my carcass. I do not mind drowning in the turbulent waters of Kisimayu, or rotting in the troubled sands of Gaza. I might as well be blown to pieces by an enemy's landmine. But if I die and my heart stops beating in combat, do not mourn me. I will be fine. I want to die Not for being the good soldier who served by the command, but because I chose to fight. Fight for my right, fight for what I believed was right. Prepare an altar and fetch some firewood. I submit myself as the offering. Bind my hands and legs lest I change my mind. Go and carry on the covenant. Light the fire, step aside and watch my body burn down to ashes. And bow your head or get down on your knees and give thanks. I want you to give thanks because my life was taken for a cause. My heartbeat faded away while my heart bloated with love for mankind.
It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's just my heart screaming out.
Saying something like, people's power or poetry is potent. Tell them not to dare to close it. Let my gaping lips be a testament that I didn't go in silence. Rather, I stood for something and raised my voice. The complacent will call me a misfit and a black sheep. They will claim I died making noise. The truth in my mouth will stop many from calling me sweetheart, darling, and dear. Some will call me son to intimidate my stand. Others will give a false testimony to the king to eliminate the hand. Yet when my soul dies, when I die, my soul will rest in peace.
Cheki, walituita tutokee referendum tupitishe katiba. Katiba ilikuwa, lakini tukaambiwa hii ndo ile katiba itahakikishia mwananchi haki kwa wote na fundamentals ziko kwa Bill of Rights. But Bill of Rights imegeuzwa mill na knights wanasaka favors za kings wamejibrand vanguard ina gadvan kufikisha pressa kwa safe house. Aina room ya kulinda welfare victims wana wish vitu zingekuwa safer juu ameleta oppression na discounts ziko lacking kwa bei za bidhaa quality yake ni wanting na sijasikia mention kwa idhaa za habari counterfeit wanaleta propaganda kwa mitaa wakulima ni beggars wamebeba nchi kwa bega Maturo ya kama teta mongotore na ikombe bianke bikojure byondo itonga bikareja iro biankia keiga tuko kuruira matigari ja watani bojo kiro kura itetari ne chia troba te twatana dere ni amani patikani base mtaani mali woofer ziko full volume ndo drown sauti za vilio za wenyeji wananja jani soundtrack na beats ni footsteps za raia kwa streets tomboya.
Mbona sometimes mi upanda barefoot jukwani, wambie poetry kwangu ni religion, na pay homage to God nikibonga. So anytime unakuja show, tayarisha roho yako. Ukijua unakuja kwa shrine, humu ndani kuna salvation, join army kwa celebration. I swear kila show kwangu ni kama wedding reception. Jo kuna vile mimi na Isa now were married kidesign. In case of divorce, lazima iwe dramatic. So make sure umebuy tickets za show theater ukiwaisikia dofa na resign. In which case itabidi umengoja mpaka end of time. Jo all the time shika kalamu. Mimi wacha itano prints nikipaint murals kwa chapel na vowels. And believers wanafaa kwa shanza ku throw in the towels. It's just a matter of time. Nataka wasomi wajue intent ya msanii ilikuwa sublime. Hakuna vile inaweza kuwa structural blunder. Kana mimi wananitumia hizi words kujenga na architecture wonder. Kila neno ni monumental. Ku break silence ni break chains na shackles za mental. Just slavery iko long gone. Lakini bado tunangoja command itoke kwa master. Treasury inakuwa drained na watu wamevaa suti. Lakini bado tunashikilia vibeti tighter. Tukicross pads na watu wamefuga rasta. Akili za watu wangu zimeshika kutu ya amnesia. So najitolea kwa janitor nizipige duster. Unajua kuna time ya kuongea. Mkinisikiza. But after itakuwa time ya kunyamaza. Najua kuna time ya miujiza. But ni time ya kujikaza. Usiogopi kuitwa bubu nikimeka attempt ya kubridge distance na binti kiziwi. Unipende usinipende. I'm happy and proud kuzaliwa na hii complexion ya kiwi. Though ni sad venye descendants wa legends wamekuwa brainwashed kufikiria blackness ni darkness, blanda venye midi na peddle propaganda. So sometimes imebidi nijikumbushe maandishi yangu kiwa Thiongo, Kamirito, nikumbuke utamu wa lugha ya mama. Onto antobeto ibatikira kwa nkombo, indipenda ukombo tombone. Na ikyo kitomi karankiara ya mreo mugambojo ante mromone. Hata baada ya mwalimu wa lugha shule kunisaidia kwangu kwa mtihani, nikabla shengi ile kwa mizani na wenyeji mashinani, kitusiwa na miti kuangusha mbegu, mashairi yakaanza kumea mashambani. So saa hii nasikiza uko fulani kwa nursery kwa hizi seedlings, kishaka kama wazazi, tuko all over the world, kila mtani na siblings, kila mashaka ndio wazazi. So tuko all over the world, kila mtaa niko na siblings.
Orphanage in studio with us this morning. Thank you for that awesome introduction. In my ear, my director, I understand you're from Chubongeapo, so they're just making noises back there.
Yeah.
Karibu sana, how are you?
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. I'm very well.
We're excited to have you here. Man, creativity, talent.
Well, I guess sometimes I always say like, I don't think I chose it really per se. Like I always say like, but I didn't choose poetry. Poetry chose me.
Yeah.
Art chose me. It's not something like when I was a kid. It's not something I would say like this is what I want to be.
Okay.
It's something I came along the way and realized I'm quite good at it. So,
yeah. How do you know? What can I say to bring the emotions? The sigh, the silence, all that.
I think every piece comes from a different place, and it's an experience in itself. So what I try to do is I try to go back to the place where I wrote it from.
Yeah, okay.
When I'm performing it. Like I always feel like that's the best performance I can give. Because there's a particular thing, a very particular thing that inspired each particular piece.
Yeah.
Could be love, could be anger, it could be sadness, it could be joy.
Yeah.
It could be an observation, an event, right? And so the emotion that inspired that piece is the emotion I try to recreate, try to capture again. So.
Great. Okay, let's do now a proper introduction.
Yeah.
That was for my own good. Now for viewers, do tell us, Orphanage, your real name?
No, that's my artistic name. Okay, the way I like to put it is that my real name is Dennis Mutuma, Mutua, Mburugo, Ntoirambu. I'm not going any further into that rabbit hole. And then my real name is Dauphin or Orphanage, depending.
Yeah. So how did you come up with Orphanage?
Well, I lost my parents when I was quite young. I lost my mom before as I was going into school. Like I was joining nursery school. That's the year I lost my mom. When I was finishing my primary school, that's when I lost my dad. So, so I think when I started writing, I wanted something like, and also like the fact that society basically expects that when you're an orphan, you're expected to be small, act small. But for me, I felt like this is, rather than be ashamed of this is something I can embrace and make my identity, as a way of, even you can say self-affirmation, and not just for me, but for anybody else who's in the same position. You don't have to, like, that doesn't limit you as a person, right? That is just something that makes your history. It's not something that defines your future, right?
Yeah,
so,
that's for sure.
And because of that, so I chose the name. So basically, I can't say. So there was the orphan bit of it, and then my first name starts with D, but also someone can say the orphan. Or, for the people who are reggae fans, and they have to do the part of thing. So, but basically, that's the genesis of it, right? So, and now so we went to from Dauphin, and then Orphanage basically it's like the coming of age of Dauphin, and it's a mindset too for me. Like it's a mindset of self-worth and self-belief, like. So that's
So basically, that's how Dofani came to be. And
Yeah.
it's that's a ring, a nice ring to it. So yeah.
It does
Yeah, so-
actually. Okay, how was it growing up? Allow me to ask, after losing both parents.
I can't say it was. I can't say I had a really hard childhood. I had a pretty enjoyable childhood,
Okay.
right? Because the thing, what happened is that so I'm a child of a teenage mother, basically. So I happened, and then somehow my dad and mom cannot be together, and so she. Somehow they make an arrangement, or she's gonna take care of me until I'm a particular age, and then when I'm like 5 years old, that's when I'm passed on to my that side of the family. He's not settled yet, so I'm taken on by his grandparents. So I'm glad that I had paternal grandparents who are able to, so they took me in, like, basically. So and so for the most part of my life, I've grown up, with my paternal grandparents and around my cousins also. So I had a pretty, okay childhood, but now emotionally, now I'd say like that's where because when you don't have your parents there, you have your dad around, but he's not present in your life, right? You always see him like every day, but he's not present in your life.
Yeah.
To an extent where I couldn't make sense of how he was my father.
Okay.
I was never, until he died, I could never call him dad. And that's something I got punished for, even by my grandmother, because she would say, like, go call your dad for me. And sometimes I was like, hey, unaitwa.
Yeah.
And then she would punish me for that, right? And sometimes, and then I got smarter, so that I don't get punished.
Yeah.
If she sends me, I'll have to go up to where he is, and then I'll be like, your mother is calling. I'll say grandma is calling, right? So I don't have to call him. Because I couldn't find the word, like I couldn't find the word father in that.
Yeah.
It didn't make sense to me how he was the father, my father. We didn't have a relationship, right? And okay, I understand that for my grandmother, for her, was sort of expected, regardless, but it didn't make sense to me, right? And I think so. A lot of those things, a lot of those conflicting emotions, I'd say, they've always been like when I think about probably now even the genesis of me as a poet, it comes from there. Comes from those moments where I was feeling like people don't understand me, or I'm feeling like, because I never felt like I was anybody's priority. Why? Because in my own weird way, I understood that my grandparents were going out of their way to take me on as a responsibility.
Yeah.
They had already done their parenting bit. So for them to play the parent for me, they were just going a step further, right? So I never got to, kind of entitlement kids have with their parents, or about their parents. I didn't have that, right? But also, like, now growing around my cousins, their mother was there.
Okay.
And there are times when I felt like, okay, of course, because even when she's buying her stuff, she's going to buy her stuff, like, generally, everybody. But sometimes I feel like, I feel like, I didn't feel like somebody really was trying to treat me as a kid. So I never felt like I was a priority. The things I would take quite personally, but then I was quite bottled up back then. I wasn't very expressive. So what I would do is, like, whenever I felt like that, I would just, find my own, I'd just go and hide and cry it out, and then, move on in life. But basically, but a lot of that, now, because even some of the pieces I've written, some that are personal, it's me revisiting those memories. Because I felt like it's a lot of things that I was thinking about, or things that I felt back then.
Yeah.
But I didn't have the language to express it. I didn't have the perspective to express it. And now finally I have the language, I have the perspective.
Yeah.
So I can revisit that and express that. And some people would say I'm quite political, like in terms of some of my pieces, and they say like, and there was that to say I'm quite radical in that regard, but I feel like the most radical pieces I've written are the personal ones.
Okay.
Right? Because I feel like for those ones, they came from a point where I felt like, I know they're going to hurt the feelings of people I care about, but I don't care.
Okay.
It's my story, and I'm going to tell it how I know it, how I've experienced it.
Yeah.
Right? So if someone is uncomfortable with that, then it means there's something they need to deal with, right? And also because my family is quite dysfunctional, actually very dysfunctional, right? And when I look at things, is that dysfunction is coming from a place of where there's so much secrecy, and so much silence, right? People never speak the things that need to be spoken, right?
Yeah.
They just, you know, a lot of things, the things that actually matter, people, of course, people to talk, people, they're going to laugh, they're going to, you know, gossip and all that. But the things that actually matter, you know, people never touch that. Yeah. And I felt like that is something for me that I would love to see change.
Okay.
Because even the dysfunction that we have in the world, even in the country, a lot of it stems from the family.
That's
right?
true. That's true.
From the family. And because you have all this dysfunction, somebody who grows in that dysfunction and then it becomes a part of your life, even when they become an head of an organization, they're still practicing that, right?
Yeah,
Or,
yeah.
you know, or even if they become leaders and politicians, you know, that informs their personalities and the way they act,
Yeah.
right? And no wonder we have the kind of problems we have, right? Right?
Sure.
And so for me, I think it's a lot of my personal life has informed my artistry, but also it's because I feel like I finally understand that everything is interconnected, right?
That's true. And how did that affect the relationship you had between some of your family members?
The fact that I write predominantly in Sheng or English, you know, it's, and also because I would say spoken word is, you know, over time now, like it's become synonymous with more people.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's still a very marginalized art form, right? It's still an art form that is developing.
Yes.
Right. But the funny thing is that in our native cultures, there is an equivalent of spoken word in every culture. I know for a fact that in Meru there's something called Renta, there's Gerarire, you know, all these are spoken word, like, you know, art forms just now in a traditional setup.
Yeah.
So I'd say like spoken word, as you know, it's just a contemporary, you know, manifestation of that. It's not new, and also the fact we borrowed, like it came, the old phenomenon, it came from the West, it came from the US, you know, but it's not new to us. It's something that
It's not strange.
yeah, you know, all African cultures are very oratory cultures, right?
Yes.
So, and I feel so because of that, the way I do it, I do it in a more urban way. So I don't say like probably if my grandmother listened to me, she wouldn't understand much of what I'm saying, which is all right, right? So, probably she's been taught some of the things I've said. I'm not gonna put that away, like, but it's never been a problem. But also at the end, I think eventually they just got to understand that I'm my own person. I'm gonna do what I want the way I want, right? So because at first it was like, so I'm an IT person. Yeah, I did IT in college.
Okay.
And so for them it was so they expected basically I'm gonna go into that, but then I sort of veered off. You know,
Yeah.
the artistic bug, he bit me and just bit me, and I couldn't do anything about it. So I had to follow that. So what happened is so at first it was like, you know, you need to get a job, but eventually they gave up. You know,
All right.
they gave up on it. Like they realized I've chosen my
This
path.
is it.
Right. So now I think they only support the best way they can. Most is like, still they don't. I'm sure even my grandmother understands exactly what I do, like how I do it, so. But the fact that, you know, I seem to have my love together, so she doesn't have to worry about that. But I think, you know, looking in the bigger picture, even of my family, like I'm the one person she doesn't have to worry about. Right? Like I have I think my focus and everything, like, because there's also a problem with alcoholism within the family and all that, and that's not something she worries about with me. So I think, well, I wouldn't say it's caused much trouble, you know, and I'm glad for that.
All right.
Right.
Let me talk about the personal pieces you do, sharing your story, your journey. There's a certain aspect of vulnerability that comes with that. Didn't you have any fears, let me say, or try to hold back yourself? How are you able to maneuver through that?
Let me put it this way. Like, I was I was a very shy kid growing up, right? I was very shy. I think there's still aspects of me that is, you know, that shy person is still somewhere in there, because sometimes it's very hard to start a conversation if you meet like in a random setup, and, and you know, and then it's very hard for me to, you know, just start a conversation with people. And so I think even for me getting to overcome that and become an artist, a performing artist at that matter, you know, it was me overcoming that, like, was the need to speak out what I had in me, you know, sort of overcame that shy demeanor, right? And also I think the same thing with the vulnerability. I feel like you can never be really like an artist of substance without a great deal of vulnerability, right? Even the songs you love. Like the songs that really, forget about the hits. Forget about the hits that we love for a particular time, and then after that, it's no, the songs that actually stick with you, right? Why is it that you still keep on going back to them? Because there's a certain place deep inside of you that they keep on tapping into, right? Even the art, even if it's visual art, even photography, you know, like there's a picture that you're going to see and it's never going to leave your mind, right? Because there's that aspect of humanity that is in vulnerability, you know, because now when I'm vulnerable and I express myself from a vulnerable point, you see yourself.
That's true.
Right? You see yourself. You might be putting on a facade of how strong and how, you know, like well kept you are, but deep down there's always something someone is struggling with. Even the people who seem to be doing very well, right? Sometimes they're the most, you know, because for them they're not able, they don't know how to not be.
Yeah.
Right. So I think for me, it's that the need to speak out. I had to. So, and if that meant, you know, like me bearing it out in front of people, right, then, right.
Okay.
And I'm glad that it's, you know, well, sometimes people, because sometimes, why are you doing that to yourself? Like, because now you're probably performing like personal pieces, and you know, and it's very intense in that moment, you know, and sometimes people come to me and you made me cry, like, and all I do is just can I give you a hug, you know, like, because for me it's not, maybe for somebody who doesn't understand me or who doesn't understand my background, they think it's sad, right? For me it's not sad, you know, when I'm doing a personal piece, you know, as sad as it might be, for me it's liberating, right? Because when you're vulnerable, when you just bear it out, then it means you're taking away, you know, weapons that people can use against you, right? It's like, hey, this is me, this is all of me. So what's the worst that you can do, right? Because whenever you don't, you know, you don't really like bear it out, it means you're holding everything close, you know. And when someone tries to, you know, like freak deeper, then it's very painful for you. It's very personal, and that's why, you know, some people you're going to bring up something, and then they want to fight you, you know, because that is something you know, for them that they're not ready to let go of yet. Yeah. Right. So. Right.
Okay. Let's talk about your journey. When did you get into the art world? When did you realize, okay?
High school. Throughout primary school, there's nothing artistic about me. I was not even interested in the arts. I was actually, I think I was top 3 throughout my primary school. So if you ask people who knew me in my primary years, they'll probably tell you, like, you know, like, he's going to end up being some lawyer, some doctor somewhere, you know. Some of those conventional, you know,
celebrated careers.
You know. But then I think I went to high school, and then there's a lot about myself, about my family that I started stumbling upon. Right? I started finding stories like, you know, that actually now I'm getting to understand what actually happened, even with my mom, what happened with my father. Like, a lot of that came in, and then, you know, you're going into adolescence. Yeah. So there's a turmoil of that. But now you're finding these other things. So I dropped the ball there. Like, I just, for like 2 years, I was just a rolling stone. I was everywhere and nowhere. So just whatever the tide, you know, like blows me, just go. So I don't even know how I survived my Form 1 and 2, because I feel like I was I was always on edge. You know, when you're on edge, you're looking for somebody to, you know, push you over so that you can drag them down with you.
Yeah.
That's the kind of life I lived like for 2 years, especially now my form 2. Like, so I was a mess. I was angry at everybody, at everything, at myself. You know, I didn't care, and I just, you know, engaging in carefree activities so that somebody can just, you know, somebody can just push me over, you know, and then I'll go down with them. So, but then, so that time, I think when I got into high school, because of the entertainment and funkies, whatever, so that's when I became exposed to music, you know, like, at least like music in the contemporary aspect of it. And then I would be like, okay, I would love to do this sometimes, you know. And then, so when I was in Form 3, the first time, we get suspended, right? Yes, it was one of those indefinite suspensions, you know. Actually, the day we were told to go back to school was the closing day. So it's like the day you're told to return, you're meeting with everybody else leaving, headed home. And so, so my grandfather at that time, you know, rest in peace, he was still alive. So he took me back. He was an old boy of the school. Actually, his name is in there, you know, wall of honors and everything. So, so he takes me back, but then, so he tells me to just wait. So he goes in, talks with the principal. And in a way, like, so, but now I was a new principal and there was a new deputy principal. So the guy who was the deputy principal was the principal at that time, acting principal. And then one of the teachers was now the acting deputy. And so the principal understood my grandfather's argument, you know. But then, now he felt like if he allows me back to school, like the deputy now is going to feel like he's, like he's bypassing me, right? So, so definitely what they agreed is, you know, I do the clearance. We came to get a clearance form, so we start clearing up, and then, you know, I had to look for another school.
Okay.
So I was quite arrogant, you know, to think that because I was in a provincial school, I was going to get into another school that was quite good. But then 1 week into the new term, and then, you know, that principal was like, you know, your boy can get in. Yeah, there's no slot. So I think that was my wake-up call. Because I was like, okay. So now I had to settle for much, you know, like for a lower school, you know, basically. There's a mixed school that wasn't that far away from home. So I go there, and it was a school of rejects, basically. Guys who've been kicked out of the other schools, most of them ended up there. But then I go there, and everybody's expecting, you know, I'm coming from Kaga Boys, you know, which was quite infamous for being, you know, the hotbed for you know, for bad boys and all that. But then I go there and I'm all chill and everything. Guys are like, hey, are you sure you came from that school? But then for me, it was a wake up. I felt like, that's when I realized I thought I was, you know, I was hitting back on other people. I was hitting back on people who are no longer even alive. But at the same time, I'm hurting myself, right? I'm pretty much, you know, following suit. You know, I'm going into the same path, right? So I was like, I sat myself down and I was like, no, I have to do better by myself, regardless. And I think that's the time when I decided, you know what, from now on, I'm going to take responsibility of my life. I am going to, any decision I make, I'm going to do it for me, right? And then I go there and then I find these guys used to rap. They used to remix like popular songs, and, you know. And I'm like, so I'm coming from that school, and there's no people who are doing this, and then they come to this small school, and these guys are doing this. That's when I started writing. Right? Okay. So those guys sort of now like what the activation energy, you know, they were like the catalysts of my artistry. Yeah. Right? So I started writing, you know, once in a while performing school activities, but basically I started just writing. And I thought I was a rapper, even though I didn't have any musical background. Right? So I would just write, you know, say I'm writing raps. But then when I finished high school and go to college, and then I was part of we used to have outreaches, like go to high schools and other schools, basically for guidance and counseling and stuff. So I would just perform, you know, like because I didn't have an instrumental or nothing, so just perform. And people started calling it spoken word. I was like, that's what it's called. I was like, okay. And so I started, so I think I picked it on, and then I did more research on the same, and you know, and here we are.
Here you are now.
And that's like, I think that's like 2009, 2010, right?
Whoa, so it's been a journey.
It's been a journey of discovery, a journey of development, right? So, yeah, because I feel like I'm a part of the generation that has really like brought spoken word to the forefront in so many aspects. Even now, I go to certain places where I'm like the first poet to ever be there. Certain spaces, you know.
Yeah.
And that's a huge responsibility, because even for the younger artists, I tell them, you know, think about being a pioneer, which most of us are still are, and is that you never get as much as you put in.
That's true.
Right. So, one, you have to make sure like you're selfless enough, right? Because if you go in for selfish gains, you're just gonna hit the wall, you know. So you have to realize that. You have to realize that you're gonna do much of the building that somebody else is gonna enjoy the comfort of, right?
Yeah.
The one who's planted the seed, who's taking care of the plant, you don't know when it's going to start bearing fruits, but somebody has to. If that tree will ever get to a point where it bears fruits, right? And that's, I think that's what we've been doing. And for me, I'm just happy and glad that, you know, I've met people who've told me my pieces have changed their lives. My people have saved their lives, right? So you have somebody inbox you and they're like, you know, that piece of yours got me through my roughest times, right?
Yeah.
And then I performed like a piece like Mama Lishia, which is like the first personal piece I ever wrote. And somebody's like, man, that's my story, right? I'm like, yeah, it's our story.
Yeah.
Right? Because they say it's like, that's exactly my story, you know? And when I wrote it, it's very personal for me. Like everything is factual, like it's personal for me, but it's personal for somebody else, right? And even for those that it's personal to, it's still, they make sense. They know somebody like that, right? Because these are part of their relatives, family members, friends, and everything. So, so it's beautiful. Even as much as life as an artist is not easy, you know, it's not easy because I think being an artist is that you feel everything, you see everything, right? You hear everything. So when other people choose to just, you know, give everything a blind eye, you can't do it. As much as I want to do it, to look away and just say it's not happening, I can't.
Yeah.
Right? It's like a blessing and a curse, right? So the same thing that gives me strength, the same thing that is going to expose me, because you know, I see something that is wrong happening here, you know, and then everybody else is just acting it's not happening.
Yeah.
I can't do it. Right? I have to point it out, right? And hopefully that through that, maybe I'll change somebody's mind, you know. Maybe through that we'll help people become more empathetic, you know.
Yeah.
Because we need more of that. Right? I need like telling the story of my father, you know. And then there's Najua, which is more like an uplifting piece, you know. This guy I'm saying, you know, I know the sun is gonna, you know, set, but it's gonna rise, you know. So there's gonna be rough times, and at the end of the day, you know, it's the hope, you know, it's that aspiration for better. And I think there's the one that was playing before, you know, before I started performing there, Minority Report, you know, and that's a very political one. I think that's because of how I wrote it. Like, it's very technically, you know, like on point. So a lot of people have told me, I've tried to recreate that style. I can't do it. Like, I've tried to write like that. I can't do it. And for me, it's one of the shortest, like the pieces that took me the shortest time to write. Because I was angry, you know. I was very angry, you know. Like, even when I'm performing it, I always tell people, you know, I want to just piss you off for a moment. Because the way it came from, you know, so it's post 2007, right? And then these guys are, you know, the Hague case is going on, and then they get acquainted. We all know they're guilty as hell, right?
Yeah.
So and then they became acquainted, you know, and just they can't let it go. They had to choose the one place they had to choose and go and celebrate. That you know is Nakuru. So for me, it felt like they were really like. You know, pardon my French, like giving the victims of post-election violence a middle finger. You know, it's like you're telling me, hey, you know, we're here. You know, we're free. What are you guys going to do about it?
Yeah.
Because Nakuru is like the one place where it's closer to where there were most victims of the post-election violence. But that's the one place they chose to go and celebrate being acquainted. For the same things we know. Okay, of course, the case has ended, but we know you guys did it. Right? You guys were behind all that. Right? More than 1,000 people died. So for me, I think I just sat down and I started. So it was like, you know, it's like when you Twitter tutoke referendum. So it's just like the last word starting the next, you know, tutoke referendum, tupishe katiba ilikuwa, lakini tukaambiwa hii ndio ile katiba itakishia mwananchi haki, you know, basically, you know.
Yeah.
So they called us to come vote for them and all that. But then, you know, they didn't die. We're the ones who died, right? And then you count down, you know, the years, and then 5 years down the line, things are still the same, you know. So the president gave, you know, all the candidates, they all gave like a lot of promises, you know, this is my manifesto, this is what I'm going to do, 100 days, you know, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
When it's all said and done, you know, someone, you know, the best they can do is just, you know, we're trying, you know, we picked this from a very, you know, like, you know, the other governments are done really badly, you know, a government that you are part of, you know, but you're telling us, so I think it just pisses me off sometimes to see that these people come with the same narrative and we buy right into it.
Over and over again.
My Mount Kenya people, like especially this last election, I just couldn't make sense of it. Yeah. But I went to Shags, to the countryside after, before the elections, and I knew. I could, like, immediately I landed, then having conversations, I knew exactly how they were going to vote. Okay? But, in no time, right now, you go there and ask them, everybody will now start, like, everybody now, you start asking, who voted that guy? Yeah, everybody's just looking like, okay, why are you bringing that up?
Yeah.
You know, can't you just let it go? Yeah. But that's what we keep on doing, shooting ourselves on the foot again and again and again, and expecting that we're not going to end up, you know, handicapped.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow. Let's go back to your journey.
Yeah.
Let's go back to your journey. Here you are after high school. You've started performing. People are telling you that is spoken word.
Yeah.
You're trying to research to get serious about this art that you're into. Did you have anyone to hold your hand? How did you prepare yourself to venture now seriously into the spoken word space?
I can't say I had anybody to hold my hand per se. What I had is I had a drive like in me, like I was so hungry, like I had a drive that I think nobody could stop, because at first is when I'm in Meru, like I had like, okay, the Meru, like the scene there was quite, but there were places where you could find artists, like there was a studio. So sometimes I just go and spend time there, you know, in this recording studio. And sometimes even somebody will come to record their song, and then I feel like, you know, what they're doing, and then if I vibe with it, I'll write a verse to it, and then I'll request them if I could put my verse. So if they like it, you know. Okay. If they don't like it, they don't have to keep it. Like, but I think a lot of all those experiences, they shaped the kind of artist I've become, right? Okay. And also, like, I think, even consuming music, I started out, I think my dad was a huge fan of reggae, so, but also there was books around, so I think I would pick books and read, but at the same time the cassettes that were there were cassettes, like, and then so those cassettes, Bob Marley cassettes, I think, I like the Doobie cassettes, a lot of reggae, and then I think the evolution, and then I get into R&B. There was raga. That's when Sean Paul was really big. And then I found hip hop. I think the thing about hip hop is the one genre of music that really like opened my mind is hip hop. Okay. Right? Because I feel like so for the other genres of music, people don't use that many words, right? But then for hip hop is more like it's more packed in terms of
Yeah.
words, right? And I love words. I love words. Like, so for me, it's always interesting to see how people are using words, right? And so I because of that, and then you come across artists like Tupac and you know, and Immortal Technique, who like just now politicize you basically, you know. So at first I was just consuming music, but then by the time I was done, it's like there's so many references I've picked that I want to learn more, right?
Okay.
I feel like I've learned more out of school than I ever learned in school, right? And that, you know, all the credits I can say like comes from hip hop now. Like for me, that the fact that I was that hungry, I was just looking for, you know, things to feed my mind with. And because of that, so they also now help me like find my language as an artist. They help me find my voice as an artist, and you know, and perspectives now, right? Because especially as far as storytelling, like I love, you know, like I love a good story. I love a good story. So and I think I've done a bit of storytelling myself. So because of that, so and it's been amazing, you know.
All right.
In that regard, like,
In that regard.
yeah.
So I want us to take a very short break, but we'll be back in a few. I want you to tell us about, you know, how you write your pieces.
Yeah.
Of course, you've told us most of them are inspirational.
Yeah.
Politics. I see you've also talked about social justice issues.
Yeah.
We'll talk about all that when we come back. So do keep
Yeah.
it right here. We're taking a very short break right at Kirk Mid Morning. But we'll be back in a few. So keep talking to us on our social media pages. That is Kirk TV Kenya on Facebook and YouTube. See you.
Keep it Kirk now and going forward. We have a lot of family programs, and this being a Christian commercial station, we will partner with you as institutions, as individuals, so that we are able to reach out to the entire world. One person said that my parish is the entire world, and I believe that Kirk TV is going globally, and therefore bring your business. We are going to advertise it and also partner with you.
To partner with us, send your financial support to pay bill number 401-9613, account partner. Pay bill number 401-9613, account partner.
Are you looking to grow your business? Kirk TV offers you a variety of advertising opportunities to suit your budget. Advertise with us today and reach your potential customers countrywide. For more information, email us on sales@kirktv.org or call 011 00 90647.
We start a program that helps us to go on a journey to get to understand the ministers who are now retired, who spent most of their life in the pulpit and now are in the pew listening to others continue with the work of ministry.
I have retired from now employment, the formal employment, but I have not expired.
We get onto a journey to understand the experiences and the things that they have gone through, the journey of their lives that can be helpful to those of us that are still in active ministry. And we can tap from their wealth of experience so that we can know how to continue with the work of ministry.
Even the ministers we have today, I would like them to know there is today and tomorrow.
Niliulizia, nikaambiwa mom alishia. Nilikuwa sad, sikuimbiwa. Mom alishia. Sitaki kujudge, juu sijui reason mom alishia. Ni birthday yangu leo. Yet another reason ya kumiss mom this year. Na kupeleka 92. Previous year nilikuwa only 2. Place ni Timao, base kambia Karao, siniulize ni how. Talia mother then alikuwa ni Karao. Yoni after wameachana na Mbuyu, if ever washawai kwa pamoja, ama ilikuwa tu blanda. Under influence ya boss ko hit under the belt, after belt kwa loose kuanguka kwa toja. Break up after breaking news, juni mwezi moja after, na period imehata. Sa hizo mini embryo nishaanza kuform. Impulse mother kwa systems inani inform ni kubaya nje. Chances za Mbuyu kukubali responsibility bado ni finje. Statistics zina point kwa possibility ya mi kwa brought up na single mom. Noisemaker tangu speech bado ija form, but kwa uterus meshikilia mbili kokot kama mic. Nategea tani yangu ya kuperform, defying the short sight ya kuchukua the easy way out. Enye ngeniacha ndani ya paperback somewhere kwa dump site. Mother may choose to go strong. About 40 weeks down the line, June 1st 1989, Madaraka Day megeuka Labor Day kwake. Ya mitatu kwa hewa amebarikiwa na mvulana, na Biliville ilikuwa ni furaha kubwa sana kwake. Norman yeti yeni dame ampata mtoto nje ya ndoa na bado ana hustle. But familia kina baba mtoto ina uwezo, so naelewa ilikuwa tu hivyo wise kupeana mtoto kwa babake. Only that decades later, mtoto ni mtu mzima na bado anahangaika jua vile ingekuwa kaangelewa na mamake. Alea kuishi na baba wako haijuana, jua aliacha uzazi ufanywe na mama na babake. Still pictures kwa album hazitoshi kushikanisha hizi dashed memories. Abandoned too early and wonder kata Waget could recover his hashed history. Wakati whereabouts a mother na idea skeleton stashed kwa cemetery. No wonder sometimes they'll feel like it's just another baby sitting. Yota then mother akiwa babysitting mostly ni dadake mdogo aliachiwa. Maswali anayo tena kibao, but alishasari kusaka answers just in case ya wesosia more pain ya kijibiwa.
Niliulizia, nikaambiwa mom alishare. Nilikuwa sad, sikuambiwa jo mom alishare. Sitaki kujudge jo sijui reason mom alishare. Ni birthday yangu leo, yet another reason ya kumiss mom this year.
I think that's one of the very personal pieces.
That was the first one, the first personal
one. How did it feel putting that out?
Well, for a start, it took me 2 years to complete it.
Okay.
Right. And so by the time I had like the first few lines, and I had like first 4 lines was like nakupeleka 92 previous year nilikuwa only 2 place ni Timau base camp ya Karao, and I was stuck. And by the time I was able to go back to that, it was 2 years later. But by that time also I had like talked to so many people, and I had like a proper like a match. I feel like if I had finished it at that particular time, it would probably ended up as a very angry, you know, and as a very angry piece basically.
Yeah.
So and I didn't want that, like, so I had to give it time. I had to, you know, I had to talk to different people, like, you know, who knew me, who knew my mother, and you know, just find some perspective. Also, I didn't want to paint her like she was a saint, like, or she, you know, I just wanted to paint her as a human being. I wanted to humanize her, because for a long time I was angry with both my parents, right? So, and angry because I didn't understand, right? Like, for example, my mom had me when she was like 14, 15, right? So she was a kid herself, right? And I was angry. I was like, you know, if they had made better choices, my life would have turned out differently, you know. Of course, but then now I look back, I'm like, you know, I was the sacrifice of our youth, right? Because by the time she was like 20, she was in her early 20s, she was gone, and basically that's because, unfortunately, in our society, we're in a society where if a girl becomes a mother, she becomes a woman in our eyes, in our minds, right? If you're not a mother, even if you're 30-year-old, you're still a girl to people, right? But if you're 10 and you have a baby, you're a woman. And now, if you're a woman, you're thrown into the deep end. So you're just a child who's been thrown into the deep end. So even if you manage to swim it out, it's still going to have taken so much toll on you. It's just going to impede the rest of your life, right? And in the case of my mother, like, it pretty much like cut her life short. Right? So, and so even when I was doing this, I wasn't even doing it. For me, it was a way of acknowledging our humanity, you know, and it was also a way of acknowledging the frustrations of children like me, you know, children of you know, teenage mothers and children who've grown up, you know, without their parents, or they want to be with their parents but they can't be with their parents because sometimes you're a father there but you can't really be with your mother. You want to be with your mother, you can't be with your father. So it's like being torn between that. You know, it's a love triangle, you know, that kids find themselves in, circumstantially, right? And so for me, it's just that, just for my mother and all the girls like her, you know, and for me and for all the kids like me, right? So, and it was, it's one of the pieces that I'd say, is also like I've performed it even in in an online, like, international kind of platform, right? It was being translated in like 2-3 different international languages. So there are people listening in Argentina, there are people listening in England and other places, you know, and in France, you know, like, where it was being translated. I was performing it, but it was being translated in other languages. And I think those are some of those moments you're like, hey, you know, my mother to the world, like literally, like, you know, she's not here, but but I took her to the world, you know. You know, people might not know her, people might, but you know, but I'm sure they acknowledge her, they recognize her.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Tell us about the issues you address in your pieces.
Yeah.
You've touched about, your own story, your own experience.
Yeah.
You talked about a bit of politics here
Yeah.
and there. Tricky, I must say.
Yeah.
But it has to be done.
Yeah, no, somebody has to do it.
Yeah, you also touch on the social justice issues.
Yeah.
Yes, tell us about that.
I think for me, I feel like there are certain things that are a matter of priority, right? And I would say I'm not, when I talk about politics, I'm not trying to be a political artist. I'm not even trying to be a conscious artist. I'm not trying to be whatever, just, okay, of course people are always going to find ways to put you in a box. That which is not a problem for me. But personally, as an artist, I feel like my mandate as an artist is to respond to what's happening around me, right? And sometimes it's just taking a snapshot of things, right? And getting people really dig deep into that snapshot, and trying to make sense of it. Right? Sometimes it's me trying to make sense of things. Because even part of writing pieces like Mama Lisha and all that was me trying to make sense of my own life, my own background, right? And other times it's just that, I have a thought or a feeling about something, and I want people to see my point of view.
Okay.
Right? And hopefully that point of view is going to start a conversation, right? Other times just, because I write about everything. I write about love, I think the first, there's a piece called Nyota Yangu, which is a video also and for Nyota Yangu so there's a friend, somebody who's just a fan, and then pretty much became a friend, and he lives in the States, but then he wanted and then the girlfriend at that time, who's now the wife, was here, and so he wanted to propose, right? And so he reached out to me yeah, can you? But the way I'm planning to come, and propose to my lady. So is there anything you can do about that? Can you? And I was like, yeah. And so I asked about their background, their experiences, and basically so that I can write it. And then he told me that she loves Swahili, so I was like, okay, I'm going to challenge myself and write in Swahili, right? And so basically I wrote a piece. He loved it, right? Loved it, but then he wasn't able to come to propose because at that time I think there was there was terrorism and some terrorism cases, and then so the U.S. government pretty much advised its citizens it's not safe to come here, so he couldn't come in.
Okay.
But anyway, either way, I think they went about the proposal, and then came. But the piece was there. But then they started organizing the wedding. It was like, next year, by the way, I want to do the wedding, and what can we do about that? So we could record the piece and do a video, and then it's going to screen at the wedding, right? And so basically that's what we did.
Wow.
Right. So I think for me it was such a an humbling moment, a privilege. If you guys and pretty much it's a responsibility, and you guys are giving me the privilege to actually be a part of this, right? And for a lot of people it was so you can do that. Basically, recently there's two friends of mine who are getting married, so we had the traditional wedding in Uganda, Tororo, and so the hubby comes to me 2 hours before. It was actually an hour before the reception starts and everything. So he comes and he's like, so I'm lying down and he comes and can you do you have a piece that we can gift Maggie, the lady's called Maggie, as a present. I was like, oh, I don't have anything right now, but I can try and write something. Right? And I wrote a piece. I was forced to read it. It's been so long since I was that tense in performing anything. But I had to read it because it was just written. So and they enjoyed it. People talked about it a lot. So
Okay.
And in some of those instances where, hey, like I'm an artist. For me, I'm going to express anything human, anything possible, so anything and everything, right? Of course, sometimes because you find me, maybe you do a lot of engagements where you get to perform certain pieces more than others. So sometimes people tend to, kind of make you synonymous with that. But I'm an artist. Like I express everything.
Okay. It's how you had a smile on your face when you're talking about the love pieces.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you really enjoyed doing those ones. Looking back at how far you've come, what can you say about that journey?
I feel like when they say, when they say that your gifts, will make you dine with kings, and I feel like that's true. Because I didn't dream about being an artist, let alone, finding myself in certain spaces. I feel like I've sometimes last year, somebody recommends me for a gig at the Netherlands embassy.
Wow! And
like that's like the best performance I had last year. And only that later that day I lost my phone. But that's Nairobi for you. But basically, like it was one of those experiences, like getting people to, like, people who don't know you, people who've never experienced you before, like just take you in and really enjoy it.
Yeah.
And so basically, like you can see that trajectory from village kid in Timau, and going to school in Kaga Boys, ending up in Kisima Secondary, and here, like I came to Nairobi in 2012, and it's been, it's had its challenges, but so far so good. Like, I only wish art wasn't such a marginalized profession, Like I only wish the artists didn't have to work so hard to, But you see, you studied journalism by the merit of you having like your journalism credentials. You don't really need to prove yourself much to people. Like you come here, you can host and people acknowledge that.
Yeah.
But as an artist, like you have to affirm yourself every time. It's like every time I step on a stage, every time I go to a space, I have to affirm myself. I have to prove to people that I'm actually good at this, right? It reminds me of a joke by I think American stand-up comedian Chris Rock, who says like he had to be the best of the best to, be able to afford where he lives, like have a house where he lives. But the next door neighbor, by merit of being a white person, he's just a dentist, and it's not because he invented teeth or anything.
Yeah.
He didn't have to be the best dentist, but he's just a dentist.
Yeah.
But he had to be like a world-renowned, stand-up comedian to actually be able to afford that kind of life. Right? I feel like in so many ways that's us, It's like what everybody else seems to, to get easily, like it's us, we have to work like ends over heels to just, to just be in that space.
Yeah.
Which is okay, because I think it helps you appreciate life better. It helps you appreciate success better, because it's not given. You actually earned it, Even though most of the times you don't get as much value for the work you've put in as you deserve. But I feel like we're at that place where we're trying to make sense of our structures and everything, so that because what we don't have is a structure. I always tell people, even the best artists around, even the biggest acts of the day, even the Saudi souls of the day, they don't get as much as they deserve, because they don't have structures that. And especially now that we've gone into the online market, you don't realize how bad it is until you actually get in there. It's like you have to stream your music and your pieces out there,
Yeah.
but at the same time, the streams are like 0.00 something. But now we don't even those platforms come. They're from the States, right? So we don't have a peace or like a tax treaty with the States. So because of that, whatever income you make, 30% of it is going to go into. It's like a withholding tax that stays in there. And for that much, you can imagine how much that is. A lot, right?
Yeah.
But that's simply because we don't have structures here that make it possible for us to be competitive globally, basically. And so once in a while, of course, we're going to celebrate the few success stories, but I don't want to be successful by luck, right? I want to know that if I do the right things, if I work hard enough, if I master my craft well enough, I can easily, earn a living out of it. I don't want to get lucky, because now it's like, we are waiting for just somebody to get lucky, to just and break out, and then you're gonna say, out of every successful artist, like these thousands who are still trying to, probably who are better than that person who got a break, right? So for me, that's the reason why even part of this structural and policy, things are so important, because I want to see the ground level. I want to see people benefit, not because of where they're coming from, or because of the privilege they're born into, but because they deserve.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's the one thing we don't seem to get. Right? Because even by merit of the family you're born into, that will determine a lot about your future, which is rather unfortunate, right? So, and sometimes in 2021, so I released an album. It's called From the Margins, and basically what we did is so I got a few artists, artists who've been like my mentees, basically artists that I've sort of interacted with along the way, and so we met up, and then I told them what I want to work on, and then so got the artists to organize people within their communities. We go and now talk to those people, like pick their minds, basically. Like see, so I went to Madare, so we talked to people. So what exactly is happening in Madare? What the kind of challenges, mostly as young people, and life basically. And then Kayole, and then we went to Kariobangi, and then talked to some campus students, and then we talked to a group of South Sudanese youth, basically picking their minds, and so all those experiences are what informed the album, right? What informed the album, and now, especially now, the informal settlements, and you get to hear the stories. So you have a case of kids who are born, to mothers, like being a boy in the ghetto, basically. You're not sure you're going to make it past 20 or get to 20. So most of them, by the time they're 15, 16, they want to have a kid, And you see, of course, a 15, 16-year-old, if they're having a kid, who are they having a kid with? A fellow 16, right? Yeah. So, and now you have a case of, so if that boy, so there was this case of a girl whose hubby now got shot by the cops while she was pregnant. If she gives birth to a boy, he's going back to the same cycle, right? And these are things people don't talk about. Of course, people are going to say, when it's reported in the news, it's going to, the police killed 5 gangsters. We all know that is happening, of course. But that is, for me, that is horizontal violence. Without the economic violence happening at the top, we wouldn't have this, bottom violence that is happening in the informal settlements. But because somebody is looting billions of money from the top, it means that money that was supposed to flow to the ground and stimulate opportunities for these young men is not there. So these young men are forced to do what they need to do to survive, right? So if somebody feel like, I have to get your phone, and trying to make a few thousand out of it, they'll do whatever they need to do. Why? Because you can't negotiate with an hungry stomach, really, right? So, and because of that, and people use that as an excuse. And in other cases, also the police now become empowered to commit extrajudicial, like basically police brutality, even killings most of the times, because why? Because there's muggings happening. But also that because nobody's keeping them in check, then it becomes an excuse. So So it's not a matter of whether you're a thug or you're a MAGA anymore. It's the fact that if you're a young man, it doesn't.
You're a target.
Yeah, you're a target. And so you have young men who just sometimes they get, meet up with a cop, they slap you around, they go into your pocket, they find a phone, they find a phone that is good enough. Like, where do you get a phone like this? You don't have a job, and they go with the phone. If they find some money on you, they take the money and leave, right? And these things are happening, right?
Yeah.
And that's for the ones who are lucky not to get shot in the process. Because if they're looking for somebody maybe to pin something on,
it's easy.
It's easy, right?
Yeah.
And so there's this piece that it's called Miaka ya Mbwa, which is basically because that's how young men are growing up, like in the ghettos. Like they're growing in dog years. If a dog grows old enough, like 25 years, a 25-year-old dog is too old, right? And so basically that's how young men are growing in, dog years. It's like, so a kid in the ghetto is like 10 years old. They're like an adult who's 40. Like they've experienced life in ways you can't imagine. But that doesn't stop the fact that they're children.
Yeah.
Right? And I think, for me, these things matter. Like, until you actually get to sit down with them, like an experience, get to hear exactly what they have to go through, then sometimes you never know. For me, coming from Shags, these things don't happen in the countryside, right? So for me, it was, so when they report that 5 gangsters were killed, I'm going to believe that, actually, 5 gangsters, those are dangerous people. And they brand them gangsters, of course. I'm very afraid. But then you come here, and then the people being painted gangsters, they are 15, 16-year-olds who made youthful mistakes, right? We made our own share of, youthful mistakes. We didn't die for it, right? But you don't have that leniency in Kibera, or Dandora, or Matare. You made one wrong turn, and then there's a likelihood your mother is going to be, paying for bullets. Because that's what happens. Like, if the cops shoot you, they won't shoot you once. They might even make you lie down on your stomach and then shoot you from the back.
Yes.
But they won't shoot you once. They'll shoot you like 6, 8 times. And then for your mother to get access to that body to bury you, she has to pay for every bullet. 2,000 bucks. Every damn bullet.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
She has to clear that first. Pay for every bullet used to kill you. And it was probably even a mistaken identity.
That must be traumatizing.
Yeah, but now, you see, the rest of the country doesn't know.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so for me, even part of doing that, because the album is called From the Margins, it was telling this story of the people living in the crevices and the cracks of society, and then getting the rest of the country and the world, at least get to understand what's happening exactly, right?
Yeah.
So that you don't just make assumptions, or, you don't just, play, because we love to play victim a lot. We love to play victim a lot. And when we play victim, it means like, nobody's taking responsibility for anything, right? Because I'm like, and then you're like, So at the end of the day, the one person who's helpless is the person who's going to be on the receiving end of everything.
Yes.
Because everybody else who could have taken, stopped that cycle, said, I don't know, right? So, and that's where we are, right?
Are you able to perform for us like a short part?
Yeah, I can do it. Okay,
Sure.
it's a collaborative project. So there's there were 6 different artists. There was me, and then there was there's Lexus Mshairi, there's Liboy, who was a singer, there's Murata Ngigi, who was also a poet, there's Karembo, who was a poet, and there's Kiketa FM, who's a poet, and then it was produced by a singer-songwriter, producer friend of mine who's called Trasamor, right? And then, yeah. So so this is my verse from Yakayambo, basically. Inaonekana toka Genesis, life yangu ilikuwa set kwa more lamentations than psalms. If by any chance earth ni garden ya Eden, kuna wenye wanaimiliki. The likes of me ni scum. Our song of songs ni dodge tukiwa farewell Langata. Another of my peers amekuwa gone to never return.
another casualty of this perennial calamity, another sacrificial lamb kwa altar ya impunity. Only thing ni Isaac akishachukuliwa, hakuna magical appearances za miraculous rams, hakuna freshwater fountains ama parting highways kwa dams, ama baby Moses alizama ndani ya river labda. Jo kuna sign ya exodus toka hii Misri ya slums. Huku Farao ni karausai kwa kifinger trigger kuongeza numbers kwa death list ya sons. Na hii si parable. Ni kama tumezaliwa ndo tufe kabla boy ya turn man. Na hii si parable memorize kwa Biblia. Brother, ni everyday life ya me and my peers condemned to live in dog years.
That's a heavy one.
Yeah.
Wow. I like that it also speaks about the truth.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for what you do. Let me say thank you for what you do.
I appreciate it.
Keep doing that. Keep highlighting things that are less spoken about.
Yeah.
Let's hope change comes from that. Yeah. Whoa, I don't know how to transition from that to what I want to ask next. I wanted us to talk about the award you won from Slum Africa, and you used to perform there.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Well, so when I was still in Meru, like before I came to Nairobi, so I was following up what's happening, you know, because Meru, I was like the only person doing spoken word in Meru at that time. Okay, after people told me I was doing spoken word, so I'm there, and then I'm watching TV. I think there was Grapevine KBC. They used to highlight what events are happening around.
Yeah.
So and then they highlighted there was Slum Africa happening, and then there was Wamatai open mic. There was Kwani open mic too. So it was like, you know, because now I started feeling like an elephant in the house. You know, when there's no competition, there's no challenges. So I said, you know what, I would love to. So when I got an opportunity to come to Nairobi, I was like, this is it. So 2012, I get to Nairobi like end January. So February, there's Slum Africa happening, and then I see it, and I went into the inbox of these guys, the organizers, right? And I was like, hey, my name is, and you know, so this is what I do, and I would love to come and participate in your event. And I think maybe out of curiosity more than anything, because Meru is not synonymous with that anyway. So I was like, yeah, come over, let's see what you have, right? And so I went, did my first slum. It was as second runners-up, right? I was second runners-up, and that was the first time. I was like, okay, this kid from Meru's got it, huh? Right? And then, so I got back. So at that time, it used to happen like monthly. It used to happen at this place in that's Ethiopian restaurant in Westlands. So and I used to live in Juja. I would come from Juja like on a Friday evening. I crash at my buddy's place in Gara, you know, like over the weekend and attend whatever events are happening. So and then Sunday evening I'm back to Juja because I was hustling there. Right? Yeah. So I do that, and so the next month I go back, slum. The next month I go back, and then on my fourth attempt, that was in May of 2012. You know, so I was crowned a slum champion, right? Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like so that for me was big, because that was finally somebody's validating that I actually had something like this is like I'm good enough, right? And for me, and even like all those, because now I didn't have that many pieces coming into Nairobi, but now the fact that I have to keep on engaging and participating in this, like I had now to start writing, like seriously. So and also now, because you validate, also because because basically if you've crowned the slum champion, it means you're amongst the elite poets. Yeah. You cannot just be just another poet. You have to really like make sure your game. Yes. Your pen game is on top, your performance is on top, right? And so, for me, it was like that mastery. I needed that, like, kept on getting better and better, right? And over time, we've above even that the way that album came about, there was this organization called Forum Sieve, and they had a call out, so they are calling it the Activism Challenge. So like people, they will be calling out that people are
share, like send ideas, apply with ideas of what they would love to do, So there was like there was prizes like first runners up, second runners up. This is what you're going to get. So basically, propose what you would love, which you would love to do with that.
Yeah.
Right. So basically, everybody was trying to win, right? So and so for me, my proposal was I'd love to, like collaborate with artists, from marginalized places, go on the ground, like pick people's minds, and then, and basically create pieces from that, and to get to record them and release them.
Yeah.
And so my idea was like was first runners up. So, and that's how we got, so that we got the resources to make the album happen, right? So it wasn't that much money, but it enabled us to do it, to
work on that.
Yeah, to work on that. And I think also because for the longest time I've been wanting to do an album also, and I've also been wanting to, do more in terms of empowering other artists, because pretty much like offer the hand that I wasn't offered, because there was nobody to hold my hand, so I can do that for somebody else, right? And for some of those young guys, like that was big, for them it was just a privilege, and getting to work with me, and I think it's flattering in itself. But to see how much that did to them, even as artists, you can see like now their craft is different, because now if you of course if you're getting in the same album with me, you have to bring your A game, right? You don't want to be the guy who seems to have
yeah.
So lazima step up. So and we did that, and the album is out there. It's on all streaming platforms. And we keep on getting feedback from people. How much that means them, and actually like you even help them in their professional work, right? It's like somebody was like, I didn't know this, like finally, like they feel like this is what I've been looking for.
Yeah.
Give them perspective on a lot of things, and I feel like for me, it's an album 10 years, 20 years from now, I can sit down and listen to and like, yeah, this is something we did.
Yeah.
This is something I'm really proud like we did. Right? And at the same time, I feel like it's still continuing to do what it needs to do, right? And that is, like amplify these marginalized voices.
Yes.
And also like acknowledge the humanity and make these people feel seen, right? Because that's important. Like these people in this marginalized situation, they need to feel seen. They need to know somebody. It's like even talking to those South Sudanese guys, like whoever talks about it, right? Most of them, technically, they should be citizens, right? Because they were born in Kakuma. Most of them under 30, they were born in Kakuma, right? So by the Constitution, by birth, they should be citizens, right?
Yeah.
But they're not, right? They're still refugee status. And of course, them, because they are very conspicuous in terms of their looks, they're tall guys, dark guys, so that is used a lot against them. Even sometimes people are not very kind, But that's because they don't understand them, like from a human perspective. The way we play, the way I was saying, like we play victim, right?
Yes.
They're like, you guys, but those guys. If you tell those guys to go back to South Sudan, they wouldn't even know where to start.
Yeah.
Right. Because they were born in Kakuma, they don't know South Sudan. South Sudan is still not peaceful. There's still a lot of violence happening. So where are they going back to, right?
They've known this as their home.
Yeah, this is their home, right? So I feel like for sometimes we're just afraid because we don't know, right? And we don't know because either we're ignorant or because it's systematically, sold to us that way. It's not systematically made sure that you don't get to know, so that you don't care, right? But when you know, you can just see things the same way anymore, right? When you know, like, because some of those guys, they share experience. They've been through, like, somebody like walking, they're walking with their girlfriend, and then the cops are like, are you two married? Like, what's that? Your business anyway. And then you respond. Of course, if you respond in a way that the cops is gonna deem rude, then the violence starts.
Trouble for you.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And you don't really have to be rude, because for them they're looking for that. They're just looking for an excuse
so
to abuse your
target as well.
To abuse your rights.
Easy
Yeah.
target.
Yeah.
Wow. I'd say it was courageous and brilliant for you to work on that album and to even come up with that idea. Time is running out.
Yeah,
I think I'd like to ask, what are the future plans for Orphanage?
A lot. I think I want to do more. I want to do more out of Nairobi.
Okay.
Actually, I have a gig in Nanyuki this Saturday. Nanyuki is closer to my home, so I want to do more engagements as far as, because I feel like every time I go to Nanyuki, Meru, like there's no space for the artist. And for me, okay, I've had to like beat the ground, clear my own path to find myself here. So I want to make it easier for the young guys who are trying to do that.
Wow.
And also because if we empower the artists on the ground, then they start cultivating the fan bases on the ground here, and then we have a proper consumer culture, of people who can actually own up to their own. So basically, I want to do more of that, and I also want to do more albums. Hopefully, this year I'm going to release another album.
Okay.
I would love to compile a book too.
Wow.
Could be a poetry anthology, and then mixed up with some of my thoughts and other. I'm not very structured, but I don't like doing things in a particular way just because this is what people do. For me, I want to pack as much of myself in there as possible. There's a lot of hopefully I've done some couple of concept events over the years, and I would love to do more even this year and beyond. But basically I'll keep on growing the brand. Last year I went to Tanzania, performed at Bagamoyo International Festival, right? And hopefully this year, I'll be back. I would also love to do a lot more performances also in the country, right?
All right.
So there's a lot of aspirations, not just aspirations, but things we're working towards, right? And do more of days, and because I feel like sometimes the things that seem easy and they seem just okay to us, or they come easy to us, and we think it's the same for other people. We think it's common sense, but it's not.
Yeah.
Because sometimes even knowing that you need information is information.
Yeah.
Right. So and that's so even for me going providing like my own. Basically, because when I talk to young people, I tell them, because for me, mentorship is basically guidance, right? So I'm just trying to, I'm just sharing my journey, my mistakes, my lessons, so that you don't have to repeat yourself.
Yes.
Like you don't have to take
to
10 years,
well.
to take 10 years, before somebody acknowledges you're doing something, right? So
it's onward and upwards.
Yeah.
Right, great. Where can people find you on social media?
Everywhere. Okay, let me not say everywhere. I don't have a website yet, but so I'm on YouTube as Orphanage blog. Orphanage is D with an it's like orphan with a D in the front, and then age. Yeah, it's like an orphanage, like the orphanage, basically. And then so. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, it's Dorfan_age. Okay. Facebook, it's Dorfan Poetically Speaking, right? And then Spotify, Boomplay, Apple Music, all those streaming platforms. It's even Instagram and TikTok, because you can load music and Facebook these days also. It's Dorphanage, so. If you search Orphanage, basically that's me who's gonna come up. Like even if you Google Orphanage, pretty much you're gonna get right. So and then other than that, it's just shows, right? I do a lot of performance. I think I've performed more than I have recorded. So and so there's Nanyuki. I'm doing Nanyuki on Saturday, and then a friend of mine is launching an album on 25th of February at the Railways Museum. It's called Javan the Poet.
Wow.
I'll be performing there. And I think 18th of February is Kimathi Day. You know, that's the day that Dead and Kimathi was killed, I think. So there's gonna be an event happening at Matare. And on from the 8th to 11th of March, there's a festival. I think it's the 5th time it's happening. Happens annually. It's called PDF, like People Dialogue Festival. It's organized by CMD Kenya. You know, it is. I'm sort of losing track of. Yeah, but basically, it's going to be happening at the museum, right? And I'll be performing. There. There's a huge list of artists. You know, like some really, you know, good artists who are going to be performing there, from music to dance to, you know, poetry. Yeah, and it's free of charge. You know, at the museum, National Museum.
People like that. Free of charge. People
Yeah,
like to hear
festival.
that a lot.
It's a festival, so
Yeah.
please show up. You know, come. You know, come and indulge, because the People Dialogue Festival. It's to promote like democracy, basically. So and that festival, like, politicians attend. You know, I've attended. You know, if the politicians come, like I've been to it like twice, and and they invite everybody. So they invite politicians, like basically politicians, people, like students, everybody. And there, because there are forums, like different forums, you can ask questions. Like if there is a particular politician there, you want to ask a question, everybody has an opportunity to. Yeah. Right.
Okay.
So, so basically that and a lot more coming up. So if you get to follow me, and you know, I make sure to
get to be in the know.
Yeah, to keep my people in the loop, basically.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming today. We
Thank you for having me. Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
Sharing with us your awesome story, inspiration, to see even the good work that you're doing, in highlighting some of the social injustice, as well as stories of people as well who are going through what is not spoken about. Yeah. Keep doing that.
Yeah, thank you, and you too.
And all
like,
the best.
Keep doing this. Like, you guys are doing an amazing job here. So
thank you. So I'd like to end the program here, but to ask if you can also finish with a piece. You know. Thank you all who tuned in today's Good Morning. My name is Faith Kaulu. I leave you with Tofanage.
All right. So this one is called Muse and Menitoka. So these are some of those 2020 experiences. I don't know what your muse is. Basically, for most people, like muse can be your girlfriend, it could be nature, it could be everybody. Yeah, so this is Muse and Menitoka. 2020 was, I had a long stint of an inspiration, but sometimes even an inspiration can be inspiration, so yeah. So the muse ameamua kunitoka. Something to do with deep pieces, not translating to my pocket's depth. Patience ni virtue, lakini nasema yake imechoka. Already economy shall drain all my strength. Sabot economy na absence yake ni threats to my mental health. Alisema, Dove, bado nakupenda, na sitaki kukutenda, but nimechoka kwa pretender that mimi si big spender just because unaka kakitu kwa bank. Kama kuweka food kwa meza ni such a strenuous task. Sitakuwa too much to ask me kutaka gari, let alone kujaza gas kwa tank. Nikajaribu kumshow babe, unajua, akani show babe, niko sure intentions zako ni pure, but nataka babies, Mercedes, na kuwa trendy like other ladies. I don't want to break your heart, ama come out kama sadist, but unfortunately, there's no easy way to say this. I'm so sorry. Na hivyo ndo dibaji za wenye vipaji na mahitaji zimepata breaking story. News ni muse ameamua kunitoka. Something to do with deep pieces not translating to my pockets. Depth, patience ni virtue. Lakini nasema yake imechoka. Since aishie nimejaribu hook up na wengine. Wote wame fall short. Jani possible ku reverse clock pengine. Juu hata baada ya kunikula block bado najipata nikimstock wengine. I'm just another washed up star bila yeye. just another frightened chicken na prayer request kwa mwewe. Kalamu imekuwa mzito, sina thoughts ziko worth kuandikwa, ni kama kuwa na sufuria na mwiko but bila unga iko enough kupikwa. World champion but nimekuwa koma to step kuishia ni kama KO nilipigwa. Ni many moons tango and I keep drifting in and out of consciousness. Image yake kwa bongo langu ni hazy. Absence yake inazidi kuni drive crazy. Your presence yake always ilikuwa ni amazing. Sahi ameniachia tu memories kwa notebook zangu. Sahi mpaka diary ni blank tangu atoke kwa life yangu. Sahi ni roho inavuja badala ya kalamu yangu. Nikilala namuona akikuja na ota na karamu yangu. Ingawa nikiamka bado news ni muse alishanitoka. Something to do with deep pieces na deficiency ikifika my pockets depth. Patience ni virtue lakini nasema yake imechoka. Already economy shall drain all my strength. Sa both economy na absence yake ni threats to my mental health. So please, please, ukiona muse mwambie news ni namsaka.
Wow, thank you. Ace. Okay. Creativity.